Hello and welcome everyone to the LCS Challengers League presented by Subway. I'm Kangas and I'm finding myself in week 4, day 1, a super week for NACL, as well as 3 best-of-3 series ahead of us today. And I am joined by Cubby. How's it going, Cubby?
I'm great, man. I'm ready for the long haul. I had all these liquids in front of me. We got 3 best-of-3s. I'm in it for the whole thing. I'm excited, honestly. We got the LCS start time, a little bit of Friday League of Legends, and we're going to see 2 days into the new patch what kind of craziness we get.
What kind of beverages we talk about here? You got your tea with your honey? That's a must.
Yeah, tea with honey, 32-ounce thing of water, coffee, and then I finish like my daily supplement. So we'll see where things go from there. I have a second coffee already outside. So
all right,
yeah, I'm
well,
ready
I got
for
a
the day.
separate feed of Cubby I can see throughout the day. We'll have a counter on the screen for how many times he yawns during the broadcast. It's gonna be a long one for Cubby, but let's take a look at what's ahead of us today, and also what's going on in the entire tournament right now. This is a update here. FlyQuest Challengers, you know, you see them in LCS first place. Well, guess what? They're first place here too, 3-0 in their series scores.
Yeah, have only dropped 1 game, and I gotta say, Quad coming over, he looks like the strongest player in the league. A lot of the other mid laners talking about how well he's performing in scrims too. He's been very impressive, but it hasn't just been him carrying. That team, they're playing as a sound unit already, which is really impressive this early on in the season. Had a pretty impressive comeback victory against Fear. That was a very close best-of-3, one that I think Fear probably should have won, but hey, FlyQuest, they were the better team. They played fights better in the back half of the game, and they escaped with the victory.
And MU also looking to join FlyQuest Challengers up there at that 3-0, as they will have a series today in our middle bracket. Also, shout out to Mirage looking for their first win. The team that made a roster swap in the 11th hour right before the split started has been struggling. We're going to keep our eyes on them going into the weekend too. But let's take a look at the games that are happening today. I let you know it's going to be 3 best-of-3s ahead of us, and it is starting off with LiT versus Wildcard. MU versus DSG. I mentioned MU's chasing that 3-0. DSG not looking super strong at the start of the spring split, and then we're closing the day with TLC versus Supernova.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got something to be excited about for all 3 of these matches. I will say that for the lighter 2 best-of-3s, the community sentiment was that FlyQuest, DSG, and TLC would be the top 3 teams in Challengers League. Right now, I think the top 3 teams are pretty clearly FlyQuest, Maryville, and Supernova. TLC and Disguise have gotten off the slower starts. They did pick up their first win this past week, each respectively as a squad. A chance for them to knock off a quality opponent in Maryville and Supernova later on. Excited for the games we have today, Kangas.
I think that a lot of eyes will be on DSG because of the fact they just won the last split, but we'll wait for that second best-of-3. Now, let's focus on the one directly in front of us. LiT versus Wildcard, starting off with LiT Esports, the team that qualified in the last promotion tournament.
Yeah, and they kept the squad, and it's been kind of fun seeing them operate as a squad, as I think one of the big stories that we had coming into this matchup, Kangas, is the fact that LiT and Wildcard, they both have pre-existing synergy, and they've been picking up wins playing as a unit in the early season. It's been really good to see. I do want to highlight Kizno on this roster, too, who had a really impressive CQ run. He was actually doing quite a bit with Sajed before they put in the duo restrictions, as Sajed was also on this LiT squad last year. So they were doing some work. Kizno was first at the leaderboard at one point, and actually, you know, was getting some high marks from other people as well.
Yeah, it's an exciting roster to follow. They picked up a win versus Mirage, lost to Supernova. They're up against Wildcard now, who are also off to a pretty solid start here, 2-1 in their series scores. Now, you talk about Kizno, we got to talk about Winnie then, because this is the jungler coming in that we often like to say when Winnie's on a roster, becomes a Winnie team. I actually got to chat with him a little bit about that heading into today's games, and the way he sees it is it's always dependent on the experience of the players around him. He even mentioned, like, if I'm going to be playing an LCS, I'm not going to be, you know, as strong of a voice, I'm assuming, for my teams, but when I'm playing at this level, I feel very comfortable stepping up and being that shot caller for the team. So we're going to see how he leads the team as we get into draft for game number 1.
Yeah, I actually really like Winnie's thoughts on that. I think that, you know, Winnie's been playing for quite a bit now. He's been on a lot of teams, and a lot of the teams that he has been on, they've had this same trait, which is, hey, you know, we're going to make plays together for better or worse. And I always like that. You know, it's better to be on the same page that's a bad page than not be on the same page at all. And Winnie's teams, they've always had that going for them. So I think it deserves a lot of credit there. And it's not just him leading. Obviously, everyone's contributing. And that team, as you mentioned, they have a lot of pre-existing synergy too. I mean, this is the St. Louis University core who were taking second in pretty much every collegiate event this past fall. Very competitive team. They managed to find a win too in the back half, one of the later tournaments this past year. And it's been really exciting to see them actually really take it to some of the top NACL squads that we have this early season.
Yeah, I think that this is a squad that we will be keeping our eyes on. The one that you were talking about, expectations, was, of course, Team Liquid. They had the surprise upset in Week 1, but that doesn't really feel like an upset because of how Wildcards look compared to how Team Liquid Challengers has looked. But what do we expect with the new patch? Because we teased that at the beginning.
God.
This is our second patch change. And I'm noticing that names of these top laners may be something that we need to keep our eyes on here.
Yeah, so if anyone follows Challengers, we did have a Darius that actually did well. That was Quacker's Darius, and Dragoon is also...
Before the buffs.
Yeah,
before the buffs
pre-buff.
even happened.
Yeah, Dragoon also never really allowed to ever have Darius because Dragoon Darius, it's, he's got the Dragoon drip Darius, right? We're expecting to see a Darius at some point in this series, and we'll see if it's banned or not. At the moment, though, honestly, this new patch, I'm trying to talk to players and be like, hey, we've swapped twice. It's Fearless Draft. Like, we have 2 days now to prep for this patch. What's going to happen? I expect to see every team have a little bit of a different read. And we're going to kind of learn with them, like, hey, what's a champ like Talia like, who was already getting played but now saw some small buffs? Or Azir, who was very meta-dominant but saw some nerfs. Like, is he a prio pick for some teams anymore or not? Honestly, I think that champ to champ, we're going to have to learn.
And Cubby, you haven't even mentioned the big one. Smolder is enabled on this patch. It's made it through the ban phase, not first picked, hovered by Wildcard. So what are your thoughts on Smolder? Is it as OP as some people say? Is it overhyped? Where are you at the read right now?
I expect to see Smolder played at some point. I think that the Comet build does a much better job of getting it out of lane, but I don't think the champ is necessarily strong. I think that, like, there are strengths. I think that it will be played. I don't think it is, like, a game-breaking new champ. I think that like it's going to find its way into the meta, but I don't really know, like, if it's blind pickable. I think there are a couple matchups that nuke it.
Yeah, I was actually chatting. I heard some scrim data behind the scenes of people, some of the teams practicing it, NACL teams, OQ teams, and it is counter-pickable, but it's also flexible. Maybe we could see it going into other lanes, but it's not being prioritized right now. Instead, it is the Varus locked in for Wildcard. And I don't know if I'd go Smolder with the Seraphine. Maybe they would, but it seems more like the Seraphine could be going into Rockboom's hands. More often than not, we've seen that. But no, actually, they go for the Jhin themselves. So very aggressive bot laners.
I do want to shout out Rockboom's Jhin. It had a 14-kill game in LiT's last series, which is pretty big. I think he had a really nice game there. And also Seraphine. This is something that is flexible between Messages and Plucks. Messages played Seraphine with the Kindred with Kisno last week to find LiT that Game 3 win, which was a pretty big draft diff against Mirage Alliance, I must say. But I do like the Olaf for Quacker. We're teasing the Darius. Olaf, another champ that Quacker is known for. This is a way to get through that Seraphine Maokai combo and at least, be able to actually go in. So at the moment, it looks like Wildcard have a little bit more early game, whereas Seraphine really wants to group in 5-stack. I'm curious if Wildcard is able... They're showing all of their carries pretty much, so I don't think they can find something that can necessarily side lane, but they will have to be careful for the next phase of draft because both the Seraphine and the Maokai are technically flexible here.
Well, unfortunately, we do get the Darius ban. I had pulled this up because I was hoping I'd get to do some fun with it, but I guess not for Game 1. But I do want to highlight some of the patch changes because we didn't have a lot of time at the start of the show to go over them.
Yeah.
Jhin locked in. Collector received a tiny little nerf, 5 AD taken off of it. Maokai actually had a little bit more changes to him. His E cooldown got buffed, so he can throw out saplings more, but they're going to cost more mana. And more importantly, his Bramble Smash the E-Stopping cooldown gets buffed for later levels. So if you max E, it's a buff. Early on, it's going to be lower, but later on, it's a buff. But the Q got buffed right from level 1 that you're going to be able to spam that out more. So maybe clear speed could be faster for him.
Also, they finally gave me my wish. The R cooldown was increased early. So it's an extra 10 seconds. Because that Maokai, I mean, people are like going frozen hard, and you get your ult like every 70 seconds, and this thing just takes up like an entire screen and runs at you. I swear to God, that's why we're seeing the champ all the time. It's not balanced. You have way too much control with this champ, and it's still why being early picked even despite the changes. But hey, Vi, no changes on Vi. Has always been a really solid pick into Maokai. This does give Wildcard a lot of sound engage to really find that first kill. Because when you're going up against a Seraphine comp, you need to remove Seraphine before she's able to get 2-3 Ws going off in a fight. You have to win your first round of cooldowns. So I think Wildcard have champs that can do that so far.
I am slightly worried that, picking the Vi into the Seraphine, you're not going to be able to kill anybody as you go in, unless you have a lot of follow-up from the team.
Wow.
Now we got to get through a Trundle pillar as well, so lock in Trundle. Trundle was also changed a little bit. He got a slight nerf.
Yeah, we're going to, right now we're control F'ing on the patch notes page, and we can go through.
Oh,
so
I'm just scrolling.
Yeah,
that's way smarter.
We'll say that Chomp was taken down along with his base health, so that was mostly for top lane changes. It will affect the early duels, but honestly, I think Trundle's going to win those regardless if he goes lethal tempo. Now that we see everything actually locked in, this might be a top lane Trundle still. Dragoon is someone that plays it. Sure. Now that we have Rakan, I was thinking it was going to be Maokai support Trundle jungle. This is how flexible things were. They're going to utilize all that they took early on in draft, and it looks like it's going to be Trundle top.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I see Trundle, I've seen so many Trundles top lane, it has picked up massive popularity, and when I think of a player like Dragoon, it's right in his wheelhouse. Now, what do we think it does for the comp, though, is the question, especially as the Emilio's locked in, so a little bit more kiteback potential now with the kick that he provides, as well as buffing up that Varus. Are we favoring either of these comps one way or another?
Honestly, I really like the Emilio late pick from Wildcard. It gives you, like, the AoE, cleanse from Emilio. It's really good against Seraphine and Maokai, so you can at least get your team out of one of those. Also, this leads me to believe it might be more of a DPS Varus, potentially. It's easier to abuse Emilio's kit if you are running DPS, which, honestly, I don't like that a ton for Varus. I think that it's doable in the Trundle Maokai, but against Seraphine and Jhin, you're actually going to have a lot of trouble. Maybe it's more so for the Olaf. I don't know. I think it's curious. I think that Wildcard, they have to make sure that their first round of cooldowns are sound. And Emilio will enable the team to help at least follow up with that. They have a lot of cleanses to get out of the CC bunch from LiT. So I think Wildcard, they're going to have winning lanes. They have to push early. Whereas LiT, they're going to be better as a 5-stack later on. And we'll see if Wildcard are able to execute them early on so that Seraphine doesn't get, multiple rounds cooldowns off.
Anytime I see Seraphine, I get excited for what that death ball is going to look like. Yeah. It's not the traditional death ball built around it. Like, I like the Rakan. You're going to be buffing that up to go in Maokai. Trundle, do we think the Trundle groups, or is the Trundle going to split push and focus more on just taking down side turrets?
He can group. The pillar is very effective against Olaf in the front line, but Trundle split push, this is a really tough matchup for Olaf. It used to be an old counter in the jungle. It's still a counter in the top lane, even with the changes. Level 1, Olaf wins. Trundle, once he gets a couple levels, it's really good for Trundle.
Okay, well, usually we've been so conditioned with Udyr top meta that we don't look topside at any point during the game. Sometimes we might be looking top lane a decent amount heading into game 1 of our first series, a week 4 Super Week. LiT versus Wildcard loaded in. Dragoon versus Quacker, the top lane matchup we've been excited for all split. And they are delivering in game 1.
Yeah, it will be the Ghost Barrier for Quacker. That is wild. That is really level 1 centric. Yeah, that's crazy actually coming out from Quacker. Barrier is really nice on Olaf though. You can really abuse it. I mean, you get a couple seconds of that shield. You're autoing at low health. You will get a lot back, especially expect the early Sundered Sky coming out from Quacker at some point too. Help further abuse that, but again, I kind of want to return to this theme of Wildcard. They need to execute cleanly against LiT. And we have given Wildcard a lot of credit for playing as a clean 5-stack so far, Kangas. So I want to see if they can really continue this, as I think it's going to be necessary for them to make sure that they are getting clean kills, not allowing for Seraphine to kind of absorb the engage and help the team reset.
That's one of the strengths of this roster that we highlight. Pretty much every series we see of them. They're the slew core with Quacker in the top lane. We expect them to come in with a higher barrier of execution for team coordination, for team plays. And when we talk about Winnie being the jungler, how do we factor that in with these Winnie lanes that you were talking about, or at least the lanes that are trying to get push early on?
I mean, likely just try to invade. That is possible on Vi. I actually want to go back to that last point, though, because, yeah, I think that we have been giving Wildcard a lot of rightful credit for how well they are playing as a 5-stack. But I've also seen some of their individuals level up. I mean, you were talking earlier on, before we started the stream, Kangas. You've been pretty high on Darkwings. Darkwings has had a really good start to this split. I would agree. I was thinking that Doxa as a support His Milio is good. Like, I've actually seen good Milio games out of Doxa. And you talked with Winnie beforehand, passing notes. You know, Winnie said about Doxa, like, hey, this guy has the Busio effect. Like, he was a mid laner. He was a top laner. He is able to play a lot of champs. He has the hands for it. He's just good at the game. And it has been nice to see him step up into this new role.
You know what else is nice? Checking out this 1v1 topside. Quacker still has the barrier. Trying to bait out Dragoon to chase under turret. And at the moment I see that barrier, I'm actually scared for Dragoon here, but he is healing up off of the minions, keeping Quacker off the wave here. When he's nearby, do we see jungle intervention early on?
Yeah, when he's coming, but it is warded, and that's the Trundle level 2, where you have the lethal tempo and the W, and you just get to run people down. So it's really nice. Winnie is spotted. I mean, Dragoon, the pressure, he's already really affecting the map, because this is all informed for Kisno, right? So Kisno is just straight up ahead as a Maokai. Not bad.
That is solid work from Dragoon there, creating his own pressure, pulling jungler in, and like you just highlighted, it spills over to other aspects of the map. Now, Winnie's going to be behind on the clear and have to jump bot side. I'm curious what Kisno now does with that information. As a Maokai, I think you can look for potential plays early on, but you're also happy to just go for the zone control. He's actually walking up here, has the blue buff over Winnie, and Messages has push in mid wave, bot has push. This jungle kind of belongs to LiT right now.
Yeah, I love it. So, Wildcard, a lot of their, like, execute, push, winning, like, they need double 6 for it. The Trundle pressure early, opening up this gap for Kisno is really nice. And also, that Milio is not going to have prio over the lane like Rakan or against Rakan early. Quacker's going to send
Quacker's feeling it. Pops the ghost, has the barrier. One more undertow. Oh, no, just the minion auto gets it. And Quacker picks up the first blood. All right, it was almost disastrous. We were highlighting how the intricacies of the top trade spilled over to the jungle, gets a blue buff for Kisno. Well, hey, at least Quacker can still do that.
I mean, that's massive for Quacker. Like, if he goes down there, Dragoon, like, gets the wave, or if he's able to pick up that wave, Quacker's in a really tough spot. He had to blow his sums to fight in order to make that playable. So, hold on.
Root Lance knockup does not from Plux. Ooh, Grand Entrance not quite connecting. And is cleanse out of Aaron still. He's able to get away from that, so they get a summoner spell, but Kisno is still hanging around bot side.
Could have been nice. I like the setup actually a lot from LiT there. No, that didn't connect from Flux, but I think it's a good idea as we're going to cast a replay. So Dragoon, I mean, he's able to win the trades, but then Quacker, he pops the barrier, so he heals under that. Dragoon stops autoing through that. And then Quacker,
and
auto
the
E.
minion autos.
Yeah, creep advantage. Dragoon going a little bit back and forth there, not able to clean it up. And that's a pretty big deficit for him down the top side. Look at the itemization, triple longsword from Quacker. Again, likely going towards that early Sundered Sky. Then again, that looks more like the Hydra build to me, potentially. To a Quacker.
It could be. I'm just, I want to go back to the point that you had made earlier, and that maybe early on we could say favor for the lanes of Wildcard, but the counter pick of Trundle is going to be tough for the Olaf. How does this now change that? Is the Olaf scotch-free now, or does he still need to respect the Trundle and be kind of careful?
I mean, at the moment, he's somewhat scotch-free because he has triple longsword advantage, but Trundle's a really tough match for Olaf. I mean, you just steal his stats, and you just really auto him down. As with Lethal Tempo, you just get more autos off. So I still
gets level 6
tough.
before Quacker here. So despite the solo kill, Dragoon gets the shove yet again, is creating pressure. So now Kisno can walk in and start taking the grubs.
Well done. I mean, this game for LiT, the setup's really nice. Again, I think Wildcard, they really need level 6s. The top lane kill, I mean, that's still grubs going over to LiT. So just Dragoon able to, again, use that matchup to get push into the Olaf, leading to a grubs take. I mean, that's not expected, you know, after Quacker goes down early, Kangas. You would think that they get their choice of objective on Wildcard side. Instead, it's Grubs going down. Very big for jungle early. Wildcard will respond with the Dragon. This won't be contested, so...
They don't get their choice, but they still get something. And I think that at the end of the day, that is quite all right. The scary thing is something that we've highlighted in past. If you're a team that can hit turrets early and you get the early grubs, it is way more impactful. The Dragons will scale a little bit better, but if you are something like a Trundle that's going to want to walk up and hit those turrets, you actually are pretty happy with the grubs.
Yeah, also I think the first take of grubs, it's a good amount of XP for junglers as well, so it can really help get a jungler ahead. It doesn't matter too much for Maokai, but still, I mean, if Maokai's farming, you're usually in good shape as this champ. It's Still kind of a scaling beast from the jungle, you know, that just brings all the utility that you could possibly ask for. So Kisno is feeling really good about his spot in the game.
Is level 5. I'm curious, observers, our incredible observer Kai, if you could actually go take a look at Kisno. I just want to see what he's leveling. Because the E max, it is Q still. Okay, so not going for the E max, so it is still a nerf to the E then, as they did increase the cooldown on it early levels. I was curious if that would change what Maokai's want to do then. Ooh, Lux with the engage. I don't think it's going to turn into too much. Just some poke damage onto Doxa.
Still nice though, able to get a trade as Doxa was trying to take the caddy. And yeah, it's still going to be Q in the jungle. I think it's going to be Q for mostly everything, especially like even support. If you're going into a melee lane matchup as Maokai, it's actually a buff, which is pretty nice. I think that one of the reasons though that Maokai's win rate was so high in solo queue is that you could play into both range and support, so he just ended up being a nice blind pick that again, you're still Maokai, so you're bringing the ult and the utility. That was a little bit too strong, so I think that's why Riot ended up adjusting things a little bit.
And so far, the changes, like the mana nerfs, the sustained nerfs off the passive, don't seem to have slowed his clear down too much.
Oh, it's sped up.
Still
with the Q nerf? Or the Q buff? Yeah, the speed.
Well, I was wondering if the E mana had changed, or and as well the sapling debuff, or that's just a nerf again, would change that, but I guess the Q compensates for it. He does get the back off. When he was hanging around topside, I don't think Winnie's spotted here, so he's not going to find much. There's no camps to clear. There's no one to dive, no one to gank, so he'll just have to back off himself.
I mean, this is a really nice start for LiT. Like, they're only down 1k gold, and it's pretty much just from solo lane farm. That's doable. Trundle should be able to get out of control in the side lane later on against this Olaf. And Seraphine, again, if you're able to group and stack, it's really nice. So I think that LiT are pretty happy with where they're at in the game right now. Curious to see if they look for any more plays.
Right now, they're hovering around bot side. Kisno is hanging out down here. They have decent vision control, so they would see if Winnie's approaching. Kisno will continue that with a Scuttles takeaway, and Winnie is on the blue buff. So junglers are on the same side of the map, but they haven't spotted each other yet. I think now Kisno will see Winnie, and Winnie will spot Kisno, and they'll wave at each other and say, no, there's nothing to fight over, so we're just going to throw a thumbs up and back off.
And honestly, if I'm Wildcard, I'm looking to attack Seraphine or Maokai here. I think that Seraphine is still going to do her thing regardless. Okay, we're a little split.
Darkwings wants to make the play himself, has Winnie nearby. They get flash out of messages, they get the ultimate out of Kisno, and ultimate out of messages, who does not accomplish very much with that. Overall, it doesn't feel too bad for Wildcard. They just trade a 0 ult for a lot of other cooldowns. Now a top lane 1v1 here. Oh, Dragoon's just chasing Quacker under the turret. Quacker does get away. I was looking at the mini-map right there. It does have to pop the Ghost, and Dragoon does not. Just throws out the ultimate subjugate, so Quacker's going to be a little bit down here. Now Dragoon looking for it. Oh, what?
He gets chopped down.
He just walked up and honored him.
Yeah, meet the Trundle, man. So actually, there was a kind of a hidden buff to Trundle in the last patch, too. His Chomp got more range.
Oh, we're diving mid.
Okay.
Who's tanking turret right now? It is actually Darkwings, and he's still taking turret, and Kisno, because of that, can turn the play around. Should not be able to get onto Winnie, but not bad for LiT. They get a solo kill top lane, and if you ever leave this Trundle alone, he will demolish turrets.
He's got Grubs, that's 3 plates. He's going to get a 4th? That is disgusting from Dragoon. I love the counter pick, though. So, I was mentioning the Chomp, I think it got a bonus 50 range, or 25 range, last patch when they made a lot of quality of life changes. So, as a whole, I mean, you're still stronger. And yeah, you can see this. I mean, you just Chomp, you steal the AD. You press R, you steal everything, you force the Olaf R, still yoinking everything, you're healing. It's just too much for Olaf to deal with. And again, Olaf very much gated by range. He can only interact outside of his range with his Q. Trundle doesn't really care about that. He's got the sustain, he can steal the stats, and everything's fine.
He didn't even press Ghost. He just walked up auto Q auto.
That was Ghost going
a little
earlier.
ridiculous.
It's down. Yeah, it was a Ghost match. Meanwhile, this was good from Wildcard. They need to catch him on the dive.
Yeah.
But really nice from Kisno. Just right place at the right time. If you get to that little corner by the wall as Darkwings, you do get out of tower range, but Kisno was able to keep him inside tower range with that twisted advance. So really well played by Kisno to make sure that he ate the tower and they were able to make it an even trade.
And looking top lane, yeah, Dragoon did not Ghost. My eyes were not deceiving me, so he still has it available. And now does he just chase it down at this point? Does pop the Ghost this time around, but we got a full-on fight down here for the Dragon. Dragoon will get the kill for himself. Messages will claim one for his team. And what an encore on the Doxa and Aaron. flash and heal out of Doxa, cleanse out of Aaron, and LiT control the dragon.
Man, everything's coming up LiT. This top lane matchup's getting out of control. When you do take 2 combat sums and you start losing, you lose a lot of control around the map because you don't have an option to really go anywhere else. And if you do, then Trundle takes the turret. As that turret is fallen 12.5 minutes in, LiT, they're taking the dragon. They secure it with a Malachi Q smite. Nothing that Wildcard can do here is Darkwings.
Oh, Darkwings with a massive engage, though. It's on to all 4 members. Forces flash, or rather Ghost out of Rock.
They lose.
Doesn't even turn into a kill. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Kizno actually kills Doxa. Kizno is still alive, will eventually fall, but that is just kind of ridiculous. And somehow Dragoon just solo kills Quacker again. Pandemonium on the Rift as Wildcard throw a Hail Mary. LiT. They came with their boxing gloves prepared, and they are duking it out.
I love that Dragoon is willing to take matchups like this. Trundle, I mean, this pick does nuke Olaf, and he is making full use out of it. He took Quacker down again. What I want to see, send Dragoon bot. You just took the dragon. Dragoon should not be walking top right now. Send him bot, give him the entire map. As we're going to have to take a replay of this one. Darkwings trying to make something happen, but you know what we were really crediting Wildcard for making plays together. This is one where, you know, Winnie's not there. He wants to sack. It's not Wildcard being all on the same page. Then we look top. Well, Dragoon's got 2 level advantage, and this time Quacker doesn't have alt, so not that it matters too much, but...
I believe Dragoon had the Trinity Force already. I think I caught that between the last replay. So now he picks up the boots and a component item here. So this is not going to get easier for the Olaf, and I'm at the point of saying that this... I know it's you don't want to call it too soon. As actually, they are catching messages here, so this is a good find. Nice encore onto 3. Should not say messages life, but actually the team corrals behind him. It was just about buying time so that he could have a backup arrive. Dox is in trouble here. He cannot get back to the team. It's going to come down to Winnie and Darkwings. Doxa does survive. He barely makes it out alive, though. And Kizno picks it up with the E. Darkwings trying to get as much damage as possible. Double knockup from Plux. Onto Rock Boom goes Aaron. Double kill to Rock Boom. Aaron can't get on him. Rock Boom's out of there as Kizno and Plux are just playing circles around the opposition. Wildcard fall and LiT win another team fight.
Man, I know that Rock Boom was a marksman that some people were excited to see hit challengers. He played that fight really well. The flash away from Winnie bought him the space that he needed to run the rest of it as Jin. Wildcard, they tried to flip the game there. Did not come up their way. And now the Trundle, that you can't make that TP.
I don't think
it's
TP
gone.
Makes it.
No, that's gone.
Woo! Well, sometimes the wheels just kind of fall off. And occasionally they fly away at 50 miles per hour, out of sight, out of mind, and you're just sitting there in a piece of metal. That's what Wildcard finds themselves in right now. They have no purchase in this game. This Olaf looking about as useful as a nice latte in Canada in December. You just don't want it, man. As now Dragoon chases down Winnie, claims the buy in the jungle. And Dragoon is just untouchable in this game.
We all know about Dragoon Smash, but do you know about Dragoon Chomp? Because we're meeting in this game. He's been bringing out the pillars, the jumps, and Dragoon's ready to run away with this
He's
one.
eating good.
Yeah.
He's eating good right now.
He's feasting on the map. I mean, I don't think he cares about his hero. He's up a level on Darkwings.
I mean, this man took a full turret, almost a second one on his own. He is doing what you called, though, give Dragoon the map. Let him go to the other lane where now he can start working on a second turret.
And Winnie's like kind of hovering to try and shut him down. I mean, I think they have to try and hunt the shutdown here on either Rock Boom or Dragoon. I'd pick Rock Boom personally. They are both down here, and this
I might pick Plux over Winnie in a 1v1 at this point. I mean, look at what's happening here. Winnie's got no business just watching the turret go down while all members of LiT are rotating around him. He did not have the vision to spot them, and he gets punished for it. LiT just owned the entire map.
Oh, not a pause. Oh, well.
Yeah, looks like we got to pause, everybody. I'm not sure what that's for. Again, these are remote players, so it can be a numerous amount of reasons. But it gives us some time to breathe and kind of talk about what actually happened here. I don't know about you, Cubby, but I'll say it now. I had higher expectations for Wildcard coming into the series. I thought that they should have a pretty easy match here against LiT, but that is not the case in Game 1.
I mean, I gotta say, like part of the new patch, I mean, I guess we're kind of learning with the rest of the group. I had an idea of what LiT's draft would be able to do. I somewhat underestimated it. I know that Trundle's good pick an Olaf. I didn't think it would win this hard from Dragoon. You know, the Seraphine can group up and kind of buff up Trundle in some of these things. We haven't even seen that yet, and Dragoon's already running away with the game. Imagine what this thing is Seraphine empowered. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. I'm struggling to even find the win condition for Wildcard. I mean, I know they have an Azir. Azir can hit a pretty good spike in the mid game, but it feels like you're so far behind that your power curve is going to be irrelevant when a 4-1 Trundle is just running at you. So I guess pressure on Dark Wings to try and make a miracle happen here.
I mean, even then, I think this game is pretty wrapped. And I think that, like, where I would look for Wildcard is that, like, the Milio pick, in theory, it can get you out of the 2 cleanses in the, like, from the, like, you need cleanse for both Seraphine and Maokai. Like, Milio brings a lot of value there. But I think the only way that you win this game is if you're one-shotting people. And on-hit Varus versus poke Varus, drastically different. I don't think you outscale this game no matter what happens. So I would have went for a support that could have helped create picks and helped really get picks with poke Varus. I know that that's a little bit of hindsight, but you don't outscale this team. And the first few like engages and attempts we saw from Wildcard, they just weren't quite synced up between the Azir and the Vi. Like it was, you know, the ults were split and we had to make the dive. Like then it was traded back, stuff like that. I think that's kind of stuff you look at where you do have to play a really clean game as Wildcard if you want to pick up this win against it, just given what you drafted, and they haven't been able to do that.
And it felt like when the first couple plays went sour, they said, we can handle sour, give us more. We're going to try and just fight our way out of this, which is a classic Winnie style. I mean, we talked about the jungle matchup heading in. Winnie is known for his style of high action, high intensity, high invade and dive and gank, and all the things that you want from your solo queue jungler. That's what Winnie brings to the table. But sometimes if you're too far behind, you need to know how to turn that off, and they weren't really doing that this game.
Yeah, or just, like, take the right fights.
Sure, yeah. I guess that's a better way to word it.
Also, just ignore the Trundle, because I don't think Trundle... I even think Trundle could win this.
I think Dragoon. And I think Dragoon's realizing this. He's like, oh, wait, there's only 2 of them?
It's Milio, who cares? You got your ult back.
And now, because there's so many people from Wildcard up topside, and they cannot dive the Trundle, look at what's happening elsewhere on the map.
Yep, and that is why this game is pretty over.
Oh, that okay, wait, Quacker, you don't want this, man. Oh, no. Ragnarok goes, popped, he's running away. He's just not fast enough.
Oh,
no!
my God.
Flux even shows up. You only get the Ragnarok if you are auto-attacking, and he was not. Dragoon picks up his 6th kill of the game.
Quacker had the gang with him, and then they left him. And Dragoon was like, we're back, baby. Top lane island. I own this fraud.
Hey, I mean, there's a reason why we are excited about this top lane matchup. It is delivering in a very one-sided way, but I would still count that as delivering. It has been entertaining as heck to watch.
You know what I will say?
Quacker.
Given each of these top laners in the champ pools, it could look like this, just flipped on its head next game, you know?
Exactly. Hey, if I know Quacker, I know that he's not going to stand for this. He's going to be like, all right, pick me, Darius. I don't care. Lock me in something aggressive so I can actually answer Dragoon. Because this was his counter pick. Theoretically, depending on what the team decides, they could get counter picked themselves next time around.
Yeah, we'll see.
At least hold it. You know?
At the moment, though, we're kind of running into a goofy one here in Challengers. We do love our Challengers League and our gameplay. We can have a good laugh at the Trundle nuking everything on the map. As 2 inner turrets have now fallen. Darkwings will trade out Natter for a bounty. This game is still done and dusted. I think that Wildcard, I mean, if they're able to find succinct picks and go from there, that's fine, but they can't kill Trundle ever. And Darkwings
is probably going to die.
Wait for Seraphine
actually, no, they're turning attention. Instead, they're looking at Winnie. Rockboom just finds the Vi in the jungle, and it's crazy to say Rockboom as a Jhin could probably just 1v1 Winnie right now, as Dragoon is going to corral Winnie around. Rockboom is continuing the chase. Get the yakety sax playing, everybody. Winnie's going back to the bot jungle. Oh no, the encore. And the first shot takes it. One shot's all Rockboom needs. He gets his man.
It's not like watching Predator, man. You got Rockboom just trying to hunt. There's no contest for when he's like, get me the hell out of here, man.
He's like, all right, bot lane's not safe. Let's go to bot jungle. Bot jungle's not safe. Mid lane's not safe. Top lane jungle's not safe. Bot jungle again. Oh my goodness. Woo!
I mean, if that's Predator, then I feel like Dragoon is truly alien, and the pillar is like what spawns, you know?
Well, now I want to see a Trundle skin like that. It's like a little mini Baron pop out of the ground. Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame Wildcard. If Alien and Predator were on the same team, I don't think they'd have a chance to win this game either. You know? Odds are stacked against you.
I don't think... Yeah, in those crossover movies, the humans never did too well, did they?
Well, yeah, and that's why they did win in the end, but also that's why it was a movie, and this is just a live stream, because we don't expect Wildcard to win in the end. I don't think it's going to go their way.
Yeah, what's a movie where the monsters win? I'm trying to think of one now. Huh. Monsters vs. Aliens? That was a terrible movie. Don't go watch that one. All right, anyway, back to the game. I want to ask you a question, because I was just checking out the dive. This one's pretty... toasted here as Wildcard are looking at the top side. What do you think Whippo's reaction to this Olaf play would be? I want to hear your Whippo impression.
I feel like Whippo's reaction would be to pick Trundle the next game and test it. You know, that's got to be the true scientist approach.
All right, fair enough. I know that he's been very vocal watching other Olaf players, as he is a bit of an aficionado himself.
I maybe not take the barrier. I mean, the barrier, like, it does help in the 1v1, and we did see it like pay off for Quacker, but I think it might have been a little bit too much indexing towards the main.
Yeah. I mean, well, also, if you, against the Trundle, if you ever leave Trundle alone, as we're seeing here, he just melts turrets. So having TP or something to kind of match the Trundle is very helpful. That was a funny animation. But the fact you don't have that and then you lost... I mean, he gets the first blood. That was awesome from Quacker. But the fact that then he dies immediately after, that's when things start looking really rough.
I don't know. I just respect that Dragoon's willing to play stuff like this. This is a pick that, like, I think it's good. Like, I mean, I'm not the best player in the world. I can play Trundle into Olaf. Like, I know about this pick. I played it before. Dragoon, he is really good at the game, and he's going to play it and play it damn well. Okay, never mind. He got more kills.
Well, when he was CC'd for about 5 seconds there, as now Aaron is experiencing what Trundle is like. He didn't even try to auto anyone else. He just clicked on Aaron and took his hands off the keyboard, and I think he's doing the same thing. Underturned the Dark Wings.
Hold on.
Massive shutdown from Dark Wings. I said if anyone had to do it, it needed to be this man, and Dark Wings makes it work.
All right, one raid boss is down. While that happened, though, they took down the real raid boss on the Rift. They did take Baron. I think they should be able to clean off this wave.
I think that was mostly a fun moment from Team LiT, as 3 members were still hovering around the Baron, or at least 2 sticking on it. They get the big purple ward. Now Kizno's walking forward with Rock Boom behind him, as Relic Ray Baron buff is picked up, and backs come in from LiT. I think they're fine. They had their moment. They're not, losing too much for that.
I mean, gold stays even when you take Baron. That's not quite ideal. But it still is Baron down, and in the pockets of it, they're going to take this next dragon. It's still going to win this game, but at least we get some fireworks. We expected from both of these teams, Kangas. We didn't think this would be, a series where people wouldn't fight. We knew there were going to be fights, and we just didn't expect Dragoon to be doing this, because, dear Lord, I mean, we wanted to see the Seraphine-empowered Trundle. I think LiT wanted to see it, too. They pushed it a little bit too far. Dragoon's like, oh my god, I got my Rakan, I got my Seraphine, we can do whatever we want. Darkwings is like, nope, not quite. Use the turret.
I am still in Azir. I do still have a turret I can play around. Gets a big shutdown, but doesn't have the death cap yet. If you have death cap, maybe there's a hair's chance of still closing this one out, but you're down 7k gold, and the enemy team is sieging on you with the Hull Breaker. They did change the bug where now your team can be around you. You're still buffing the cannon minion, so it's more of a siege item than a split push item solo. So that's going to help take down these turrets. Walking it forward. Okay, they do clear the wave, though. Darkwings can get that one. If they only lose 1 inhib here, and Darkwings can get the death cap, I think that's a success for Wildcard.
Well, we'll see if Darkwings is able to be the savior. I mean, this is truly like solo queue nightmare game right now for Darkwings. He's like, what the heck happened here?
Team, I'm trying my best here, but somehow my Olaf has completely lost it, as now the top turret is getting lost as well. Aaron actually takes on Kizno.
Hold on.
They're diving under the turret, and it is ramping up damage. Dragoon 1v1ing Darkwings, and Darkwings is winning that one, or at least just stalling the Trundle. Dragoon can't get anything done. Flux might die, has to flash away, and will survive, but they got Kizno in messages. Wildcard defend under their inhibitor turret.
All right, LiT, they get a little bit too lit twice now as Wildcard lights them up a bit. That's the death cap now for Darkwings. Azir can pump. There's a lot of damage from Azir. I think that LiT, they might have to be a little bit more respectful. of the Azir. Make sure they're using the range of the Seraphine to Jhin. As here comes Darkwings. He's fed.
Here comes the hose.
Yeah, they can't do it.
Darkwings going in.
Dragoon can't interact.
Dragoon and Plux. Might just kill Plux right there. Has the death cap completed, so they have to retreat. Winnie's got the smite.
That's nice.
Soul point denied. The minions bot wave are hitting the turret. Do they get it?
Oh my god.
I think it just went down. Yeah, okay, so no inhibitor
Wow.
turrets left on the map. That is actually pretty rough from Wildcard, but with the Trundle, he just got to look at that thing and it dies anyway. Not the biggest deal, but at least Wildcard are finding a couple windows where LiT are just throwing themselves at them. Wildcard are catching.
A little bit too much. Do want to say Dragoon picked up a Wit's End, which I think is like capped out on attack speed now if he drops a W. But he is, I mean, Azir is pumping some decent damage. Wit's End
2.47. That was his attack speed on the W. That's pretty much capped.
Yeah, I mean, lethal tempo enables you to break it, so I think they're fine there. Or that's still the case? I don't even know.
I don't remember offhand. I know it's changed a couple times.
It has.
I'm just going to let you be the one to look that one up as I catch us up on the current game state here. Wildcard trying to get as much gold in their pockets as possible. They have 3 items on Darkwings. The death cap is a huge purchase for the Azir, but Winnie is heavily behind. I'm wondering what he's going to go. Is it just Hysterics so he can try and survive a little bit more? Does he feel he needs like a Black Cleaver? Oh, it's the Death Stance. Okay, wow. Death Stance picked up for Winnie. So trying to just survive a tiny bit longer. All he really needs to do is survive long enough to get the ult off onto the target that he's going for.
I honestly just try and make space for Darkwings. I do think that LiT almost need the Baron to try and break this game. And if I'm Wildcard, I'd try and end. I mean, this is... The reason why we don't see Trundle like every game is that when you do play in the groups, it gets a little bit harder. Here we go.
Yeah, wow, I mean, if you get isolated against that group, a massive pick for Darkwings. It's kill credit for Quacker, but that was all the Azir making that happen.
I mean, that's really well done from Darkwings. The Trundle can't interact with the Azir. The Trundle wants to interact with the Olaf and the Vi. Really well played from Wildcard to get that pick. I still think that that's part of why they need the Baron, because they need to bait Wildcard in and get them to use a couple cooldowns, checking out that objective. And if I'm Wildcard, I'd honestly think about giving that Baron. That's kind of scary to approach. If you're like gonna get out of base and enable Trundle to really open up the map like that. I'm curious the decision that Wildcard decides to make, because this is a little bit of a goofy game that we have. But hey, props to Wildcard. They managed to close the gap, and I think Darkwings has had a couple really nice looks. He's the one that got the shutdown, and he's the one that can interact with his Trundle, and he's making it happen.
He's the one that's impressed me the most on Wildcard's roster so far this split. He had a great Champs Q run, and games like this where Darkwings is the type of player who will step up, who will make those big, high-impact plays. Hoping to see more of it this entire spring split. Happy that we're seeing as much as we are, as now Wildcard are not doing your plan, Cubby. They are grouping up around the Baron. They do not have Prio topside. And Dragoon does have teleport, so they got to be careful of that. But for now, they're holding the supers pushing mid.
Yeah, so if you're LiT, like the way that you control this Azir is that Jhin and Seraphine both outrange it. So I think that, again, for LiT, think about playing these fights a little bit slower. You will melt the front line as Wildcard. They're actually starting to burn. They're trying to get them to come
Speaking of
here.
melting, this Azir melts Baron down. Kisno's not going to make it in.
Wow.
We got to take the fight afterwards. Here comes Nature's Advance. Getting in onto the Olaf. Pops the Ragnarok. Now everyone's turning after Dragoon, but Dragoon gets in there. Looking at Quacker. Quacker goes down. Shuffle from Darkwings. He's still alive, but now falls. Wildcard got to get out of there. They need to at least keep Aaron alive because he's the only one that can even think about hitting a wave, and he's the one split from everyone else. LiT continue chasing him down. He's going to try and clear the wave, but surely this could just be the game as Dragoon will chop down on Wildcard's AD carry. A valiant attempt from Wildcard, but with only 2 members holding the Baron, I don't know if that's going to be enough to hold the base.
So he's going to be... They don't have minions, really. As okay, TP comes in to save a wave. They're going to ignore that top wave. Dragoon is low health. It's playable right now for Wildcard. They get Darkwings up in 15.
It's just Winnie for damage, though. He will look at Dragoon, misses the initial smash. As the turret help, Decent assist goes forward. Dragoon just walks past him, hits the turrets. There's just no chance a Quacker can be the difference maker. LiT throw a couple times, but the gold lead is too much, and they will take game 1.
All right, that was a fun game. The Trundle made that game really, really fun, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's an old counter pick in Olaf. Dragoon knows about it. He knew about it better than Quacker. He played that really well early on, and LiT were able to pretty much get a free map in the mid game, which made things a lot easier for him. So it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, new patch, we had some creativity. Trundle got nerfed in top lane, but did they really nerf him up there? Who knows?
Who knows? Quacker got the first blood, the solo kill, and that was his highlight reel. The rest of the game was all Dragoon, as that is game 1 wrapped. We're going to send it to a short break before we're back for game 2 of the series and seeing what Quacker's clapback is. See you there.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long. Or a churro, and probably not a pretzel either. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. To which we said, but we already made them. And they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.